Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, you guys, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Solo show today. Yeah, we've had a couple of guests on this week. It's been great getting out there and, talking to individuals. Had my man Anthony Petit on Monday talking about truck parking. My man Johnny McCord on yesterday talking about insurance and everything. And yeah, you guys, we're going to be back down to break down some articles today, tomorrow, and then obviously Friday is Q&A day. So if you have any sales or operations related questions, drop them in the DM on LinkedIn or wherever you're connected with me on social media, and I will answer them on Friday's show. Before we do anything else, though, as always, got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or shipper, we all need access to trailers. And you know what we also like doing? Getting paid, right? I think we all enjoy making a little bit extra money because that's what you do on VHub. You get paid to move these trailers, and that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out. So they got a bunch out in San Diego, California, or San Diego, Ron Burgundy's hometown. They got some roll-up door vans out there. You guys go into Wisconsin and New Hampshire, but they also have swing door vans as well, going to Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Texas, and North Carolina. And they range between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer. Yes, $1,100 to $2,200 per trailer, you guys. And then they also have 135 out in Paragould, Arkansas, needing to get up to Mississauga, Ontario, and they pay $736 US per trailer, you guys. And now, like, these don't just have to pick up in those cities, right? Like, you can grab them, reposition them to other areas. They just have to end up in the destination cities, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My friends Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair on YouTube. What is up? Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Adolfo Rodriguez. Buenos dias, señor. ¿Cómo estás? Bueno, Adolfo, ¿dónde estás? He says he's rocking that orange shirt today. Sonny Sharma. Good fucking hump day morning. I love it. Let's go. Orange shirt gang in the house. Sonny's getting me fired up. Lori O'Connell, good morning. Zena, what is up? Good morning. Corey Ritchie, good morning. Tony, I do not need drayage. Darnell in the house. What's up, brother? Stephen Thompson, good morning to you. Papa Freight, Anchorage. Dude, let's go, man. How long, Stephen, how long are you up there? Enjoying that, man. Enjoy that little reprieve from the nice, beautiful weather that we got going on down here. Matt Fink. Dude, Matt, I've been meaning to DM you, man. It's been a while since we chatted. I'll send you a message here today. It says this one better be solid. This one better be solid. The TD. I don't need Dre. That's right. Flo, what is up? Good morning, Thomas. Weirden Freight morning, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Byron, what is up, my man? Anthony Tuttle, good morning. Up there for the week. I like it, man. Anchorage and Fairbanks coming in. Joey, what is up? Happy Wednesday. Let's get weird. Let's do it. Speaking of getting weird, fuel's on the way up. It's up to $4.10 a gallon out there, you guys. I get this information from the EIA. I go to EIA.gov out there because I got customers who have fuel surcharges and all that fun stuff. So I want to see where rates are so I can obviously win more business. And speaking of winning more business, I'm out, I got a couple of RFPs that I'm going to be working on here in the coming days. And, my friends over at Green Screens, you guys, are going to be the ones who I'm going to be using them. And for me, it is about partnering up with those companies, right? Like I use green screens literally every single day inside of my brokerage. I know we're winning more freight with them because I see the results, right? And from an RFP standpoint, helping us bid out multiple lanes and everything, and then knowing the information's accurate in that, you guys. So that's the beauty of this is I literally use green screens inside of my brokerage every single day. So if you guys want to win more freight, which I'm sure you guys all do, hit them up. You guys, greenscreens.ai/the freight coach or DM me. I'll put you in touch with my friends over there, you guys. They're committed to moving the industry forward, just like VHub, just like my other advertisers too, you guys. I'm very fortunate to have multiple advertisers, SPI Logistics. That's who I have my agency from, LoadSmart, as well as Thai Software. Thai Software is new advertiser of mine as well. So I'm just very fortunate. I'm very fortunate for all of you guys tuning in every single day. Bill McIntyre, been a minute. Good to see you, man. Good morning. Devon, what is up? Good morning, sir. Yeah, it is RFP season, Thomas. It's always RFP season, baby, especially with the way that this industry is evolving and things are just getting more and more. You can run them a lot more throughout the year now. Like, I mean, it used to be like an every 2-year RFP and then an every year. And now I don't see how, I can't speak for every single company out there, but I personally think that the RFP season is going to get shorter and shorter, right? Like as technology advances in the industry as a whole, I truly think the RFP seasons are going to be, I wouldn't be surprised. I can't say when, but I wouldn't be surprised at one point if it's down to like every 30 or 60 days as things become more and more efficient out there. And that's, again, that's just where I see it. I don't have any proof. This is just pure speculation at this point, but I just truly think that they're going to evolve and get away from even the annual way. I could see it getting down to a quarterly RFP and everything. It's just, it's so much more efficient now when you can go out there and put RFPs in a timely manner, right? Like, I mean, literally, guys, I used green screens for an RFP, 2 RFPs of mine earlier this year, and I was able to get them done. What normally would take probably like 5 hours, 6 hours, I got it done in like 45 minutes, right? And that's because I double check and triple check. I'm fucking OCD, you guys. All right. I'm extremely OCD. So that's why some of this stuff takes a little bit longer with me. But, again, that's the beauty of where we are as an industry, and then furthermore, it just helps you bid with confidence, right? Because I think that, a lot of people, when you're building your book of business and you're just trying to start turning some revenue, again, you guys, I didn't make any money for the first 16 months, right? Like I broke even every fucking, I lost money from months, from inception to month 8. And then I broke even from month 9 to month 16. And that's when I first made my first dollar in business. And so I get it, right? When you're out there and you're trying to bid stuff out and build up some revenue, knowing that you're having the confidence in quoting the right prices is pretty key. So rest assured, you guys, in partnering with some of them. And, it's, let me see here. Garrett Bowers, he says that we've been grinding RFPs every month. Dude, it's a good problem to have though, man. Because Garrett, this industry just as well as I do. And I'd rather have RFPs every month than no RFPs to bid on. Thomas Wittern says one of my past customers was moving to a monthly RFP. I could see that being more and more common. Sonny Sharma needs a reefer LTL company out of the Blaine, Washington area. Sonny, the only reefer LTL guy I know is out of Dallas, and I know you're saying Blaine, Washington, but he might know somebody up there. His name's Brian Towers. He was on the podcast a bit ago, but he does reefer LTL out of Dallas. He might know somebody up in Washington that might have something, man. But yeah, let's see here. Let's get into some articles. Yeah, I got a couple of good ones here. Where did they go? The first article I wanted to bring up was this is from a couple of days ago, and this was from the Washington Post of all things. I try and find articles from different news sources all the time because, frankly, a lot of them are kind of the same after a while. Matt Fink, I love you. Even shippers hate RFPs. Not like we enjoy them either. Oh man, I love it. I love it. That's great. All right. This article, you guys, Washington Post. As always, you guys, I put the links to all the articles up there on the YouTube channel, which is the Freight Coach, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay on iTunes and Spotify. So if you guys want to check them out, again, I encourage you all to check these articles out and, formulate your own opinions on this stuff as well. All right, this leaves in Davey Pedro could see it coming. The freight boom that had drawn him into trucking was starting to ebb. After nearly 3 years of free spending, consumers had finally bought just about all the computers, televisions, furnitures, and clothes they could use. That meant fewer boxes, cartons, and containers needed to be moved around the country and less work for drivers like Pedro. Suddenly, the lucrative trips from his home outside of Boston to Chicago or Milwaukee barely paid enough to cover his tolls, diesel, insurance, and repairs, and leaving little profit to compensate him for the long days away. The expenses are higher than what you're making, says Pedro. It's not worth my time, he says. So this spring, Pedro, 42, found someone else to take over the monthly payments on his 2017 Freightliner. And he purchased in 2020 for $49,000. He quit hauling freight and took a job driving a dump truck for a local paving company. Pedro is among several thousand drivers who have fled tractor cabs this year amid one of the harshest freight recessions in memory. On Monday, as soon as Monday, Yellow Corp, the nation's third largest trucking company, is expected to file for bankruptcy. And it's the largest failure to date, a development, about 30,000 drivers. The driver exodus represents a stark turnaround from 2021 when the White House mobilized to attract more men and women to haul road freight with paid apprenticeships and efforts to tap military veterans. Since trucking was deregulated in 1980, the industry has cycled through regular boom and bust episodes every 18 to 24 months, according to Ken Adamo, chief of analytics at DAT Freight in Akron. When times are good, new drivers flock to the business. The influx inevitably drives down rates, leading many of these new drivers to quit. The COVID chapter of this story was extreme. At its peak, roughly 8,000 trucking companies entered the market in a single month compared to the long-term monthly average of about 700. There's still more capacity than freight to be moved. He added, it's a tough time to be a carrier. The freight slump is largely good news for consumers who no longer must wait for goods they have ordered, and manufacturers that last year ran short of key materials such as semiconductors. Today, the nation's supply chain is operating more smoothly than at any time since late 2008, according to an index maintained by the Federal Reserve. During the pandemic, there were too many goods and not enough ships, trucks, and planes for them to move on. Now, as merchandise and consumption and the U.S. supply chain and the capacity that it needs. And the freight recession is real, and it stretches across modes, across air, trucking, and rail, said Phil Levy, chief economist at Flexport. Sorry, I'm trying to read through some of this. And yeah, like so much of the roots of today's freight slump can be traced to the pandemic. I think we all know that. And then when consumers later began resuming their normal spending patterns out there and keeping supplies, major retailers in recent months have been ordering fewer items and instead focus on reducing their stockpile of unsold goods. At Target, inventory in the first months of this year plunged 16%. Shipping containers arriving at the port of LA, Ground Zero, are down 23% year over year. I think that has to be told about all the bullshit that's going on out there at the port in LA and how a lot of that freight has transitioned to other ports in the United States. That is a possible explanation for the drop in imports to LA alone. I'm not saying that overall volumes aren't down, because I know that they are, but specific to LA, I think it's more than just freight volumes that are being down. I think it's due to the fact that a lot of other people have shifted to other ports out there. Union Pacific, the largest railroad, said profits fell by more than by 11%. I don't know that we've ever seen freight demand fall this far so fast and for so long without an accompanying economic recession, said David Jackson. I think that, it's interesting to hear a guy like David Jackson and some of these large publicly traded companies that are in this industry talk about the freight demand fall so far and so fast and for so long, but without bringing up the fact that freight volumes rose so fast at that time. Like, it's kind of like, I understand, like, they got a lot of these individuals are very careful about how they say things, but this is why, I mean, again, the last couple of years are very applicable to overall data, but it's an anomaly, right? Like it's an anomaly due to the fact of what was going on in the world. Not saying that the market wouldn't have picked up during that time, because historically speaking, if you're looking at the boom and bust, or the 18 to 24 month cycle that was out there, it plays pretty much just in line with that. But it was a cataclysmic rise followed by a cataclysmic fall, essentially. And you had to have known, right? Like, and especially with some of these larger companies that have more data than anybody knows what to do with, they knew it was going to happen eventually, right? But this is like it's a very solid lesson in business. And this is something that I learned in business. And I'm sure all my friends out there who are watching this show that own their own companies know, um, when the market's high, it's not always going to be high. And for me, it's about developing a way that you operate in the down markets, and you continue to operate that way in the up markets as well. Is just stash that rainy day fund, stash that stuff away. Um, Let me see, because it does talk about consumer spending, which is 68% of the economy, hasn't collapsed yet. It is gradually slowing. And then the distinct economic climate is making the freight recession more punishing than usual. Lower freight volumes that are soon followed by full-blown recessions are ordinary by falling gas prices, weak demand. None of those conditions apply today, as we know that the or the fuel is up in 20, and it goes back into when he decided to launch his one-man trucking company. He had been making a living behind the wheel since immigrating from Brazil in 99. He drove a limousine, and then driving a car hauler in 2007. And as work from home consumers overwhelmed, Pedro saw there was more money to be made, hoping to make enough to pay some bills and renovate his home. He knew that it went up and down. He says he got a fixed rate loan and bought a used Freightliner with 350,000 miles on it. That was a good deal at the time. Before the pandemic, freight doubled, essentially almost doubled that price, went from 50,000 to 80,000. Americans trapped in home kept spending. He saw his earnings grow. In the first year, he grossed $272,000, which left him with an after-tax income of $86,000. On the road hauling loads for Amazon and JB Hunt. And he would look for a Planet Fitness outlet to work out, later park for the night, and he'd cook a 10-ounce steak in an air fryer, then rather, eat out and everything else. Let me see here. And then the cost, it wasn't offered, but he kept a close eye on the bottom line. And but repair bills for the Freightliner, including one for $7,200, ate into his earnings. You don't want to stay out as an owner operator for a really long time. All you do is simply put money into the truck. Okay. I think that, again, I could be completely misunderstanding what he meant here, but it's a fucking piece of equipment. Like, it's going to take money to fix it and maintain it, right? Like, again, this is one of those situations that when you switch from employee to business owner, it's just like when you go from like renting a place to buying a home. Like, when something went wrong with the place when you rented it, shit just got fixed. You don't have to worry about it. But then when you buy a home and something goes wrong, you got to fucking pay for it out of pocket. I just think that, again, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this. This is a good article as a whole, kind of talking about things, but I also think like there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. There really is, because this is one of those things that, as the market picks back up, eventually it's going to pick back up. Remember these times, right? Like, remember these times and how that, maybe a $7,000 repair bill, maybe you fucking prepare for those moments, right? Having cash on hand is so crucial, right? To me, it's about, I don't know. I read some of these things and I know what the media is always out to do. It's a clickbait followed by an over sensationalization of what somebody did in there. But again, I want to talk to the people who've made it, right? The ones who have built businesses, because that happens a lot too. And in learning from this situation, again, I think like with a lot of stuff, it's not fucking easy. All right. Business is not fucking easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And on top of that, we need to come up with a way that, when the revenue is high, you're operating like it's not. I personally think that, because that's something that I'm doing this year is I'm very, very much focused on stashing cash and staying in that, as revenue fluctuates, right? So I think that there's a lot to be learned about this and preparing for a rainy day. I mean, my good friend Adam Wingfield talks about it all the time. As soon as you buy a truck, you got to have those cash reserves for unexpected repair bills and everything else. So that article, Washington Post, and truck drivers are leaving the boom and bust supply industry. Let me see here. And Matt Fink says, class move. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Nice. I like it. Taylor Swift. Yeah. I don't know, man. That $100,000 bonus, good on her, right? Good on her. Let me see. Garrett Bauer says, allies is what we do in business. Who is this yellow? Is this new? What did they do? Double brokering? Yeah, man. I didn't even know what was going on with yellow. I had no clue. Byron said, let the people of our nation analyze the research information and decide to demand that the presidents in our nation stop caring about business in a cartel manner. This is our beautiful nation. I agree, man. Less government. That's what I'm all about. Stephen Title says it's tougher to be a carrier now because shippers are running bi-weekly RFP. That's funny, man. All right, you guys. Next article, ttnews.com. Let me see. Clickbait and over-centralization. Nailed it, Chris. Nothing on a class 7 or class 8 is cheap to repair, and it's not going to get any cheaper. Yeah, absolutely not, man. And, and that was one of those things that with my old man, when he was driving, he fixed his own shit for the most part, right? Within reason. Like a lot of the stuff that he could do on his own, he did it on his own. He did his own preventative maintenance. He did all of that. And there's a lot, again, as a business owner, you need to become resourceful. You really do. You really do. I mean, you got to wear multiple hats. You got to figure it out. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. Let me see here. Joseph Metten, Yellow Brokerage is still in business, so they were not affected by the rest of the company. It's going to be interesting to see, Joseph, about what goes on with that. This article, you guys, TT News, strategic tactics drive cargo theft rise. The trucking industry has faced increased cargo thefts this year, with thieves developing more sophisticated and strategic tactics. Let me see. CargoNet in a second quarter report released July 18th found that supply chain risk events increased 57% year over year, with 582 reported incidents across North America. This accounted for over $44 million in stolen shipments. The report noted that much of the increase was attributed to a type of strategic approach known as shipment misdirection attacks. We have clever criminals here, but it's become more of a global problem in regard to the organized crime piece, said Keith Lewis. He is a VP over at CargoNet. When they steal by fraud, use the internet, and use surrogates to do the dirty work that don't know they are involved in a crime, they can do it much easier and much faster. And with that, they can target and hit into bullseye high-value commodities. The shipment misdirection attacks use legitimate processes like load boards to fraudulently obtain cargo. The criminal may pose as a legitimate motor carrier or broker to get a load, only to turn around and put it back on a load board to get a legitimate driver to carry it. The goal is to pass a load through multiple driver and warehouses to essentially launder it. They're washing that load just like washing dirty money, Lewis said. There are warehouse receipts generated, so when it's shipped out, a new bill of lading is generated, and now you have a legitimate bill of lading showing from Fontana to San Bernardino. So even if the driver gets stopped, he's got a legitimate BOL. Risk management firm Overhaul found its first quarter report that cargo thefts decreased 14% year over year to 142, but rose 11% compared with Q4. The report also found that most targeted cargo types were electronics as well as food and beverage. We do have a very active and diverse network of law enforcement contacts throughout the country that are specifically focused on cargo theft, and we are seeing a strategic thefts. We're seeing those spread not just only in volume, but the way they are growing in a geographical area. Always Southern California is fucking the hot spot for all of this. Scott Cornell, transportation lead and crime and theft specialist at insurance firm Travelers, also has seen a strategic theft spread into new areas. They're nowhere near where they left. They perpetrate the theft from a distance online by phone, things like that. And earlier this year, Loadboard and Freight Management Truck Stop launched a campaign aimed at fighting cargo theft in Fraud Prevention Friday. And we saw freight fraud increase dramatically in October of 2022. We saw complaints increase about 400%, and they've stayed at that level since October, and they've continued all the way through. What CargoNet is saying about seeing a 57% increase is accurate, but what we've seen month over month from June and July, we've seen about a third drop from this super high level. And that Hutto pointed to declining freight rates as a contributor to the rise in cargo thefts. When rates are low and cargo is more scarce, he said, carriers are less likely to thoroughly investigate potential loads. The stat of attempted and successful thefts does not paint a pretty picture, said Zach Boyer of TQL. From an intent standpoint, the industry is seeing more cyber criminals out there. I think that, again, this is a very relative article no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's an up market, down market, very relative article. And for me, you guys, it's a lot. I talk about this often. How do we minimize this? And it is very much commodity specific, like they're talking about, right? Food and beverage, electronics. What are you doing, right? Like, how are you operating right now? If you're brokering those loads out or you're hauling those loads out, what can you do differently today to be more secure and mindful of your customers' freight? That's what I want to know. How can you look at this a little bit differently? I think that from my perspective, how are you onboarding how are you working with new carriers, right? Like I think of it like this. The more questions you have, the less likely that some of these fraudsters are going to want to work with you, right? Like, and the same thing for the drivers out there, because this is like the one thing that is very rarely talked about are the carriers that are actually hauling these loads that are getting fleeced for a couple of $1,000s. I always look at it like this. Vet the people that you're working with. If you're a broker, and we've talked about this on this show, your approach is it picks here, it delivers here, this is what it weighs, this is what it pays, take it or leave it, because the market's in your favor right now and you fucking control things. I'm being very sarcastic, but that's very opening and appealing to a lot of these fraudsters. Like, oh, this person clearly doesn't give a shit. Yeah, man, we'll take that load for that. And then that's how it all begins, right? And then furthermore, the drivers that are out there who are taking these loads, vet your brokers. If brokers can't answer basic questions about the load, like piece counts, weights, appointment times, where is it picking up, where is it delivering to, it's amazing to me that people accept loads without having actual information on there. It really fucking baffles me that there's people out there who sell those loads like that. But, again, don't take that freight. And then especially the biggest thing, you guys, the biggest thing is the anomaly of the market. For a complete arbitrary number, if a load's been paying $1,000 and then all of a sudden somebody's offering $2,500 for the load, I know times are tough, but it's probably not worth it. It's probably a fraud. It's probably a double brokering situation. Be aware of this stuff, you guys. You have to protect your business. And then frankly, you have to protect your customers too. As somebody who's out there that's building this shit up organically from the ground up, the fact that you're not taking this stuff seriously is very concerning, right? I'm not saying that, because fraud and all this shit's been going on for a very long time. But what can you do differently today? That's what you need to be asking yourself right now. If you don't give a shit about that business, they're going to be able to tell, you guys, and you all know it. You guys all know the person out there who's selling the load on the floor, motherfucking the drivers and doing the shit that brokers are all notorious for. That's how this stuff gets exposed. I personally feel that the more you know about a load, the higher standards that you set, the more and more that they are deterred, because they're looking for the quick buck. And if you make it easy for them, they're going to take it. And then on top of that, most of this shit, I think, especially with this high volume stuff and value stuff, and I'll end the show with this. I think a lot of it is more of an inside job than anybody wants to give out and talk about in that manner. Because again, look at last summer. Like, you don't just miraculously land on the rail car with all the TVs. But I'm going to leave it at that, you guys. Let me see here. Joseph Metten says, I work with a security company in government transportation. I explained to them how having motor carriers and programs involved in cooperative evaluation program modeled after DOT safety investigations that the relationship increases in security. The bad guys don't want to have zero to do with safety. So when you raise certain questions like safety investigators do, this helps identify who is bad. Byron, familiar with bribes? Anyways, you guys, that's going to be it for today. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. As always, you guys, if you guys got value, subscribe and share the show. If you're watching the replay on YouTube or iTunes or Spotify audio only, and you got value, subscribe and share the show. You guys rank the show, because that's how we are the top transportation podcast that is out there, because of each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.